It's gonna be like Galaxy Trucker all over again. Alright. There's more games. You could build a whole fort. So many more games.
It's made of fun.
Fort made of fun. I like that. Oh, it's the same on all sides. I think it's the same artist as Oh My Goods. You can kind of tell.
Yeah, they probably have the same dude.
The same dude. Yeah, when's the Isle of Skye expansion for Oh My Goods coming out? Someone can play Scotsman, and instead of building factories and shit, they just raid the other guy's stuff.
Oh, we
Steal
know,
it,
you
so-
bastard.
Bit of pillaging.
Nothing says Christmas like pillaging. Well, it's all about acquiring stuff without paying, right?
Yeah, totally.
With that, welcome to Ready Steady Play's Christmas special. We're going to talk a bit about some board games here and some Christmas classics, and then we're going to play some board games as well. So, I'm joined by Michael Smith.
Hello.
You recognize him from the incredibly popular Isle of Skye playthrough.
Worst viewings ever.
Is that my lowest rated series? I don't know. It might not be. It's drawn with Time with Guilds of London.
It could be a top 3.
Or a bottom 3, depending on how you look at it. And Ollie's here as well. Ollie, what's your most popular series?
I don't know, actually.
All of them.
All of
He's
them.
incredibly popular.
Raise your goblet, probably.
Yeah, Raise Your Goblets. That got a lot of views, actually.
However, we did kill Mike in the Halloween special.
Yes!
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, he was undead, so he came back.
My crack team of assassins here.
Yeah.
Even though he sent me the wrong bloody way on the train.
That was the best thing. That's the
I'm
best
never
thing.
going to forgive you for that. I spent the whole game with Van Helsing trying to track you down, and you send me the wrong way.
Honestly, my own
That's
private
alright.
victory. I never had to fight with Ollie that entire game.
It's alright, I had the rifle.
Yeah, and the magic bullets, which
And the
really
magic
did a
bullets.
number on you.
So that's true. Those were horrifying. Yeah, and Matthew Spears from Blood Bowl, which is just come out, and also from we played the zombie game with him. Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter.
The expansion.
That was fun.
The Long Night.
That
That
was
was fun. That was disappointing that there wasn't a betrayer. There's never a betrayer, man.
He says it's just.
There is.
He says
It was me
disappoint-
once.
He says disappointing. We proved that when it comes down to it, we can actually win the game when the game is trying horrible things against us.
Yeah, we can cooperate very effectively,
Yeah.
but the fun is not in cooperating, damn it.
This is why he's always the traitor. And this is why I always think he's the traitor, even when there isn't a traitor in the game.
It's true, there's a lot of metagaming going on when I'm involved in bluffing games.
Yep. Because he lies like a boss.
That's not true. Have you seen the party game specials? I do horribly. But I blame that on a lack of understanding of the game mechanics. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. But today we're not talking about those. Today we're talking about other games. In fact, we're just going to do a quick sort of chat about this monstrosity, because this is actually my copy of Monopoly. And the only reason I own it, it's Monopoly. The only reason I own it is because actually this is the 1937 original release of Monopoly in the UK. This is the first ever English language version. As you can see, it is well loved.
Not by him.
No. But it's a really nice set, actually. And this was produced, I was going to say before the Second World War in 1937, but Ollie quickly corrected me because he knows about history and stuff. And he was like, no, the Second World War had already started in China. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, yawn. So, but this game, when it was produced,
39 in Europe.
the pieces were, so there's no dice in this game. It's not that the game doesn't have dice, it does feature dice rolling, but because the factories had all been tasked to manufacture goods for the war, the dice were unavailable, so it's actually got a little spinny thing that you spin. Maybe I'll even show you.
A spinny thing, also known as a spinner.
Well, what is it known as? Look, this is it.
I'm going to stick with spinner.
The spinner, it is called a spinner. Look, if the spinner stops, and then it's got one on the inside and one on the outside, depending on whether you're supposed to be rolling 1 or 2 dice. And it says, owing to the difficulty of obtaining dice, it has become necessary to include this substitute. The small figures represent the first die, and the large ones represent the second die, which is pretty neat. And then you've got the pieces here. There are some dice that have been added subsequently, but you can see the old wooden cardboard pieces there, and the houses are all different shapes and sizes and stuff. So I do really like this as sort of like a history thing. And actually, the money that comes with it is actually, look how good condition. It's still in really good condition, this money. And the reason for that is it's like plastic laminate. I honestly haven't seen like board game money produced at a sort of this kind of high standard in a really long time. I mean, think about it. Look at this money. It's still in really good nick, and this is like math's 79 years old. This game, since this was made, that's incredible. Anyway, the thing is though, the problem is it's still Monopoly, isn't it? Like
It's still.
It's the game that divides families and turns friends against each other.
yeah, well, yeah, it's
awful.
it is a game of like sort of, but it's very very luck based. You know, it's roll and move, which is horrifying anyway. And then it's it's just like you get pissed off at people dick you over, and you know the thing is as well, like you're not rewarded for good plays and you're not punished for bad plays.
If
And
it helps, I know the reason why that's the case. Because
Why is that?
the person that designed this, it was not meant to be a fun game. It was meant to show the evils of a capitalist monopoly. It was meant to be unenjoyable so that you learn not to be such a horrible
now,
person.
correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't it a woman who designed it?
Yes, it was. So the woman who designed it, originally,
No way.
it was meant as a moral lesson.
I did know this story.
Yeah, it was meant as a moral lesson so that you learn acting like this is horrible for everyone and people hate you for it. But when she sold the idea to the manufacturer who wanted to mass produce it, they kind of took out all of the moral implications and
Just left it. That's
get lots and lots of stuff as quickly as you can and your family will hate you.
Turn into Ready Steady Play for more history.
For more exciting board game history.
Well,
I'm
history
getting my
lesson.
money. I'm getting my money from my degree.
No, that's like, I mean, that's a fascinating story. And
Yeah.
so
It's just funny
You know,
that it was meant to be
You told me
unenjoyable.
something there, Ollie. I can
There's,
use that on the next pub quiz.
so there's also, I mean, so Monopoly is one of those family classics. Everyone's got a copy. It's unfortunate. There's also a couple of other family classics, which I won't quite talk about as much here, but you know, you've got your classic Risk and also Trivial Pursuit. I'm not a big fan of either of those games. I'll tell you a little anecdote. When we went back for Christmas to my family's home about 3 years ago, I brought my girlfriend and my brother Chris. And my brother, he doesn't play a lot of games, but he likes to play the games we played as kids, which was Risk. And we showed up, and we all got dealt our objective cards, which have you conquering different territories on the board. And so the minute you occupy these territories, you win the game. So you've got to sort of capture different continents, and it's a secret objective, so nobody knows quite what you're trying to get. And then you get these territory cards that tell you what territories you occupy. So for example, you might have a mission to occupy all of South America, and then at the start you might get some territories in China, and some in Australia, and some in Africa, and you might have Argentina or Peru as well, and then you have to expand out from there and conquer that continent while trying to conceal from other people. That's what you're trying to do. Anyway, the point was we set up the whole game, we dealt the secret objectives, we did the territories, I had a turn, Chris had a turn, and then on Leanne's first turn she won the game because all of her territories were in the secret continent she had to occupy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, literally we didn't get through a full round of the game.
That's victory turn one.
Yeah, and it just because it can happen. I mean, the odds of that happening must be incredibly small,
Yeah.
But they happen.
but it can happen. And we were just so sort of deflated by it. We just put the game away and we're like, fuck it. No, it's not happening. And I haven't played Risk since. Now, there are a million other versions of Risk, and I have seen some of them, like Risk Legacy and Risk Star Wars, which are very different to the original Risk box. And actually, it's sort of evolved a lot and changed a lot, and there are people who really, really like those games. I haven't played them, so I can't really comment on them. But I do know a couple of people like Barry Smith, who comes on the channel from time to time, who's great. And Barry plays a lot of different Risk games, and he loves them. So, there's a lot to enjoy there, but original Risk, maybe best avoided. I guess, if you want to have a good time.
Yeah, I find it incredibly frustrating because someone always gets the mission to kill me.
I literally, I played it once, and it was a 3-person game, and the 2 players I was against decided we're not even going to make it a secret alliance. We're just going to say let's destroy Ollie and kick him out of the game, and then fight over the rest of the world. So my whole game lasted about 20 minutes of being destroyed on all sides.
And and that's the other thing, because I've played Risk games where you're playing with like a couple, and then the couple are like, well, I'm not going to attack you, and the other one's like, oh, I'm not going to attack you either.
Yeah,
and then you wind up with this like ironclad alliance because they don't want to compete with each other, which you just can't beat. You can't get
Trying
around
to take
that.
over the world.
Yeah, you're trying to take over the world, and then the other players are forced to ally, but then maybe they've got a secret objective to capture territory that you've got, and it just throws the whole balance of the game out, and nobody has a good time.
Although if you can ever make them turn against each other, it's amazing.
Well, I've not managed to do that, but I guess that depends entirely on what kind of people they are. I guess.
Vengeful.
Yeah, well, like some people can't. I guess it depends a lot on how comfortable you are with conflict in your relationship.
Even make-believe conflict on a board game,
Well, some people handle it better than others.
evidently.
Evidently. And, that's one of the things I love about board games is it provides these sort of like safe havens to explore these areas you might not otherwise be able to explore, areas of conflict or lying or cheating or whatever.
All the things that you excel at. Will that make it through to the edit?
Here, I'm cutting that bit out. Fuck you. I'm the editor, damn it. And then the last one, I guess, that I would just quickly mention is Trivial Pursuit, because I hate it. And it's not...
No, I don't mind it.
You don't.
I can't stand
But
it.
the thing about Trivial Pursuit is that for me, it's all about. For me, the problem is I don't have the general knowledge to play it well, and that's frustrating because I just can't play it really well. So I can't compete. So I'm going to sit there for hours and not be able to compete. And sometimes it's fun and you can have a laugh, especially when you're with a good group of people, and you can make it fun. But why would I want to play a board game for 2 hours where I have to make the fun? Like surely the board game should be adding something, right?
To be fair,
And there's so many. Sorry.
I think that's why they do this themed versions of Trivial
Yeah,
Pursuit.
so you can get like the Star Wars edition or the Lord of the Rings
movies,
edition. But when you're playing with your family, like I'm spoiler alert, I'm a big nerd. So if I want to play Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit or Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, that's great for me. But then my brother can't play that, or he might be, and he'd be great at Batman Trivial Pursuit, but I might fall down a bit on that. So and then our parents couldn't play any of that.
If only you knew someone you could play a Star Wars Trivial Pursuit game with. Only.
But then
Give me a clue.
we could just
It's
play
not
better
me.
games. Like if you and me sat down to play a Star Wars game, we could play that, or we could play X-Wing Miniatures game or Star Wars Rebellion, which are just way better and more fun.
I guess.
And that's sort of the problem. I mean, Michael, you're very good at trivia, general knowledge. So
I don't mind it. So because I seem to have a bit of a wider base of general knowledge compared to other people, so I don't mind it. But yeah, I can imagine it getting a bit boring if you're just like, another question wrong.
another one I
question
can't
wrong.
do, another one I
No.
can't do, another one I just don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like now I have to take my best educated guess. Okay, that wasn't right. Fine. And so the sort of I think that's actually a problem I have with more. I think that applies to more general to trivial to general knowledge games.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, and that's why I like sort of stuff that tries to circumvent that. Things like Wits and Wagers.
But if you were the good thing that you could get around that with is if you were having it as a family board game day, you could potentially have teams, and so you could team people up with who have good general knowledge and people that don't have general knowledge. But like say if a question came up that was really nerdy. And I really don't know that, but
there aren't very many nerdy questions
No, but
in
what I
core
mean-
Trivial Pursuit.
But
No.
it's very.
I mean, there
wide,
are, but it's like
very
sort of
general.
Olympic nerds, sports nerds,
Yeah.
or like science nerds stuff. And like some of those I can get because I'm not bad at science, but
Whereas you see, I don't think I would get any science questions. So it's all about pooling resources into a team.
Yeah,
which
but then
makes
what
it
you
more
need to
fun
do-
because then you can all contribute.
I see what you're saying. But the problem is you need to be able to sort of separate people into 2 or 3 teams, and you've got to get the distribution very even.
Yes.
It's
And so
very
then you
rare.
need a very sort of specific pool of people and an even number, and suddenly you've got all these, and the problem is suddenly you've got all this sort of complicated construct you
might
have
not
to
have
do
in a family.
to balance out the game when you could have just played something better in the first place. Like, you shouldn't have to work to do that, and that's sort of what we're transitioning into here. So my super segue, these are games that you can sort of, we've got some suggestions here. I've got some suggestions of games. So these, there's 3 games here. These 3 here, and these are games that keep making it onto sort of the top of people's like lists of games to play, games to get for people who are not really into board games but might be if they had good games, right? I mean, Settlers of Catan. I mean, look at this edition; it's ridiculously worn. I must have bought this in well over 10 years ago, but
And it's in worse state than Monopoly.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not. Arguable. But I'll tell you what, this has been played a lot more than Monopoly. Even though that's been around for 79 years. This edition has been around for 79 years. This copy of Settlers of Catan has probably been played more in the last 10 years than that has in almost 80. Because Settlers of Catan is great, and it's accessible, and it's got strategy, it's got luck, it's got a bit of sort of planning, stuff like that. People love Settlers of Catan. I mean, if you don't know about Settlers of Catan and you're watching this channel, I'm really surprised. But
I don't know about it.
you don't know about Settlers of Catan?
No, we've never played this.
Yeah, I forgot that you're sort of like you're representing the side of the demographic who are maybe not super board game
He's
nerds.
the dilettante.
Well, for some reason, Michael has this a huge gap of knowledge in his board game, but yet from his childhood, you've got Hero Quest and Dungeon Quest,
Yeah.
which are both great and super nerdy games. And when are we getting Hero Quest? When are we doing Hero Quest?
I'm getting my mum and dad to bring it down at Christmas. So.
I'm so excited. I'm
that-
going to get
is that
my Hero
fun?
Quest down. We're going to get his Hero Quest out. Together, we probably have all the pieces we need to play Hero Quest.
Epic
So
100
expect that
Hero
coming
Quest
up.
battle.
But that's not the point of this. So here we're just talking about these games. And Settlers of Catan is like a trading game. So it's got some negotiation. It's got sort of, some tactics to it. But you've got a map on the board. You're building up roads and cities on the board to get resources. And then you can trade resources with the other players or not. And eventually you're trying to sort of accumulate victory points by building the longest roads or building the most cities, and or by buying sort of development cards with your spare resources, which give you special powers and also victory points as well. It's an absolute classic. It's got a bunch of expansions, which you don't need, but you can get if you want to expand it. You've got one that adds conflict, like knights and stuff like that. You've got one that sort of increases I think actually it's the same one, knights and cities. Cities improves the cities, so you can build sort of buildings within your cities and stuff like that. But to be honest, like if it's just for your family at Christmas time, this is a great game. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take a lot to explain it. Every turn is the same, which is actually really important because it means that if once someone's learned turn one, then that's it. They're good to go for the rest of the whole evening.
Yeah.
Because they just repeat the same turn over and over. And even though the game gets more and more complex, because the board state is changing, you never actually really need to learn any more actions or any new tactics or strategies. The only thing is the development cards. And even then, as you get more development cards, there's not that many. I think there's only 5 or 6 different kinds of development cards.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So it's really accessible. If you're a super hobby board gamer, you might be a bit disappointed by the lack of complexity. But to be honest,
it's not a bad thing for me.
it's to be honest, you could be playing Monopoly, so fucking appreciate what you can get, right?
Your punishment is to play Trivial Pursuit.
And so the box goes. I think this is for 3 to 4 players. 3 to 4 players for the Settlers of Catan base game. You can get a 5-player expansion, maybe 5 and 6-player expansion, which I have. I think it's in this box, just because, and it scales up pretty well. To be honest, it's better with more players because it's got this trading element. And what winds up happening, especially if you... So when I get this out with my hobby board gamer friends, none of us trade, because we all just know what the other person's doing and we've figured out everyone's strategies.
They're all power games.
So it's a trading game where no one trades. So I can't really play it with my hobby game friends anymore, but I still have a really good time playing it in the pub or playing with people who are less sort of into the hobby. So it's for that sort of group, I think. But again, what I mean is it's just got such a broad application. That's a really good one. Dominion is the sort of the godfather of the deck building game. Dominion is a game where you're trying to acquire victory points. You've got to you start off with a rudimentary deck of cards. There's no actual board. It's just a bunch of cards on the table. This is predefined at the start of the game, so everybody has access to the same cards, which you buy using money in your deck. So what you're doing over the course of the game is you're buying cards to put into your deck. All the cards have different powers, and then once your deck has sort of become a satisfying machine churning through cards and creating tons of money, you can start buying these victory cards to put into your deck. And the tough choices come in because you don't want to buy the victory cards too early because they don't do anything for you. So they sort of clog up your deck and grind the gears to a halt. But then you don't want to wait till it's too late because other people will start buying them up, and once they're gone, they're gone. And the game ends when 3 piles of cards run out, or when all the most powerful victory cards have sold out. And Dominion is a game for 2 to 4 players, but it's got very little player interaction. I would say Dominion is probably a bit more for maybe people who have a bit more gaming experience than Catan, because there's a steeper learning curve, because the kingdom is randomized. I mean, you've got something like 20 or 30 cards in this box, and you'll use 10 of them in any given kingdom, and depending on which 10 you put in, you can get a very different feel. So there's a lot of replayability. I mean, I've got all the Dominion expansions at this point, which totals like 500 cards or something. Wow. And if you use a selection of 10 of those...
Wow.
I mean, epic.
It's ridiculous.
There's 8 boxes there.
You don't need any of that unless you play a lot of Dominion.
You thought I was joking. Oh god, there's more.
No, there's
I missed.
10.
Wow, I missed some.
Yeah, there's more at the top there.
Number 3.
Wow.
But there is, in fact, they've just now's a good time to get into Dominion because Donald Vaccarino's just released the first 2 boxes, Dominion and Dominion Intrigue, as a second edition. They come with more cards in them for the same price as the first edition. So this is the first edition, but now you can get the second one with more cards in it. So that's a good deal. And I think it's sort of, if you are the kind of family that has a problem with conflict in games, I mean, Catan's not bad. There's not a lot of direct conflict. The biggest problem you're going to have in Catan is blocking each other with roads, which is annoying, but that's kind of part of the strategy. Whereas in Dominion, there's actually even less player interaction, and you can kind of control the amount of player interaction by putting more or less interactive cards into the kingdom. A lot of players criticize it for this, and it's a fair criticism, but if you want to just kind of hang out with your family, and you're basically all kind of working on your own little project, and you get to watch with fascination as other people work on their projects too, which is cool, but, you know, like I said, less interaction. So it just depends on sort of what kind of feeling you want to go for, but Dominion is a great fun exercise, and it's certainly very engaging. It's very sort of strategic, bit of a higher learning curve, probably less accessible than Catan, but also offers more complexity, and, you know, like I said, there's basically no direct player conflict, so if that's something you want to avoid, then this would be a great game for you. And last but not least, so again, I got these 3 out because they sort of keep making it into people's Christmas family games lists, you know? And the last one here is Ticket to Ride. This is Europe, which is sort of the second edition of the game, I guess, is a way to describe it.
What was the first?
Well, the first was Ticket to Ride, and that was set in America. And it came with 2 maps, I think. One was all of America, and one was a state in America. I can't remember which state, because there's so many Ticket to Ride maps now. Ticket to Ride Europe has all of Europe on it, and then the other map is, I can't remember. It's smaller. But Ticket to Ride is a game where you're building train lines, and you're getting it's a set collection game. So you've got a marketplace of different colored trains, and you're trying to match up the color. You've got a hand of cards. You're trying to match up the colors in your hand, and then once you've got sort of sets of cards, you can spend them from your hand to put train lines down on the board. You've got these tickets in your hand, which award you bonus points if you connect certain cities, and dock you penalties if you don't connect those cities at the end of the game. So you're really trying to get your tickets made on the board. And over the course of the game, you can get more tickets if you want to try and connect up more cities. But, you know, it's a tactical decision because you'll be punished for the ones you didn't get in the end. It's a very sort of light, simple game.
That sounds something I would really enjoy.
I mean, when I first got this for a couple of friends, I bought this for Leanne, actually, because I thought this was when we were first dating, and she didn't really have a lot of games. Dominion and Ticket to Ride were sort of the first 2 games we got, actually, and that was how I sort of got her into the board game thing. These were the hooks. When we first got Ticket to Ride, we stayed up literally all night with our friends playing it. It was just the 4 of us drinking beers and playing this game, and we played it for like 12 hours straight. It was incredible. But it's so it's just sort of a very addictive thing, and you've always got this sort of difficult decision, like, do I buy the train line? Because you don't have a maximum hand size. You can keep collecting cards. You can spend an hour just set collecting in your hand to try and keep secret from your opponents what tickets you've got.
Going to do everything.
Yeah, and then so each turn you can either take cards from the marketplace, you can draw blindly from a deck of cards, or you can build a train line. The problem, of course, with that tactic is that then when you want to go and build the train line, people may have already built on the lines you need, or you can only build one a turn. So once you suddenly reveal where you're wanting to go, they might suddenly preempt you, especially if they're ready. So, you know, it's this difficult decision of, do I go now, or do I wait and try to keep my agenda secret, but then, you know, miss out on what I need, and have to suddenly go the long way around, which might be more difficult to complete. And you've got like wild trains that can be sort of any color, and that's an amusing thing to think about. The party train.
The wild train.
Wild trains.
Roaming across the plains of Europe.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So this version of Ticket to Ride adds so what Europe has got, in addition to different maps, it adds tunnels, which require sort of extra trains to build because they're dangerous, and also stations. And do you know what? It's been so long I can't remember what stations do. but you build them on
They let
cities.
passengers board the train and get off the train.
Yeah.
Smart
That's where the
ass.
trains.
No, I think you build them in cities and they give you access to other lines or something like that. But is it worth getting this over the original Ticket to Ride? Yeah, I mean, I think that Europe just adds a few extra nice little things and it doesn't take anything away from the game. So, you know, if you have a choice, Europe's probably the better choice of the two. There's a new version that's just come out this year called Rails and Sails. Don't bother. Don't bother. Don't bother. You have to love Ticket to Ride to want Ticket to Ride Rails and Sails, and even then you have to like really love it, it just don't bother. It's not
Like
good.
really?
Like really.
How much do you have to love it?
Oh, so much. Because you know, like Ticket to Ride, I guess probably takes about an hour depending on how many players you have. Rails and Sails is at least 2 to 2.5 hours, and it's just playing two versions. It's like playing two different games of Ticket to Ride put together because it just adds boats. I say it just adds boats, but it comes out with a giant board, and then you've got all this stuff to negotiate, and you're basically playing Ticket to Ride boat and Ticket to Ride train at the same time, and it's just a total headache. And also, it adds a lot of complication without seeming to bring a lot of tactical complexity. It's just Ticket to Ride Europe is great. There's a bunch of extra expansion maps and stuff you can get. If you want to make it better, I mean not better, more complex, you can get well, you know, like not more complex is not necessarily better. It's just more engaging, right?
I get it.
So you can get a Ticket to Ride UK, which adds like sort of technology cards that you can sort of get to upgrade your trains and stuff like that. I don't think it needs it. That's not really what Ticket to Ride does for me, but it's all about what it does for what you want for your group. So that option is there, but as a family day game, Ticket to Ride Europe, super simple to learn, super quick and easy to learn, really accessible for everybody, and super addictive. So, you know, it's probably not going to go down well with your hardcore hobby gaming group. Maybe, I don't know, if you're drinking beers in the pub, maybe, but not on game night. I don't know. But for family time at Christmas, it's perfect. These are a couple of releases that came out very recently. I say that, you know, recently in board game terms. Codenames actually has 2 more versions out now. Codenames Pictures, which is the same thing with Pictures, obviously, and Codenames Undercover, which is the adult version. Because what this is it's a word game and a team game. Have you played it?
I haven't, but the second you said it's an adult game, my mind instantly went, it's a picture game that becomes an adult game.
No, so this is, okay, so...
Because it says 14 plus on the box.
This is a word game. Codename Pictures is the Pictures version of this. It's actually a word association game. So what you've got is the thing is, for this game, you've got a 2-player and a 1-player variant. No, not a 1-player, 2-player variant. It's not great. Really what you want is 4 or more. Ideally an even number because you're in teams. But 4 is fine. 5 is okay. I mean, one team's going to have an extra player, but that may be a help or a hindrance. And the reason for that is you create a grid of words. And the grid, I think, is 5 by 5. So 25 words. And one person on each team is the spy master. And the spy master has a grid that shows the grid of words color-coded. So they'll be able to see blue words, red words, and a single black word, as well as white words. So the words are white anyway. But those are neutral. And then the 2 teams are red and blue. And the spy master has to try and communicate to their team which words are red or which words are blue, right? And the way they do that is they've only actually got 2 things they can say. So they can give you a word association and a single number between 1 and 9. And that's it. So they might say something like, you know, spy 2. And what that tends to mean, and that's it, that's all they can say. Literally nothing else. And then you've got to work out what words on the board they're talking about from that clue. And typically 2 means I'm seeing 2 words associated with the word spy that you have to guess. But, you know, other people do actually use that to sort of indicate different things. However, that tends to be the unspoken rule. The art of the game is being able to direct your teammates to more than one word with a single clue, because you take turns, and that allows them to sort of get ahead. If you go 1 for 1 every turn, then you will tie. So you need to have turns either where your opponent fucks up and gets nothing, which is you don't want to count on that, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to count on your opponents to mess up, so it's better to try and give out, because the other thing is, I'll tell you, because what happens is, you might say spy 2, and your team are looking for 2 words, and they see the word bond. Now, bond could be a financial thing, but it can also be a spy thing. So they guess bond, that was one of the ones you were thinking of, so you throw down your team color on that word. That's great. Now, they might look at the board again and not see the second spy word and pass. and then it goes to the other team. But when it comes back to them later, they might have spotted it or figured out what you meant. You can also build on clues because you'll give them another clue. And they can keep guessing. So long as they get it right, they can keep going until either they get it wrong by picking a neutral word with no association or one of the other team's words. There's also the black word. One of the words is the black word. And that's the assassin word. If they guess that, the team's out and the game immediately ends. And they've lost.
Goddamn assassins.
So that's where the finesse comes in, right? Because you've got to sort of use this ambiguous clue to direct them to multiple words for your team while also keeping them away from guessing the other team's words and keeping them away from the assassin word. So it's this really fun, sort of silly, amusing word association game. And man, I've never had a bad time playing this game. I even played it with my mother, who was totally appalling at it, and we had a great time because she was so terrible. I'm not kidding. Okay, so there was 3 words on the board. There was octopus, bond, and spy. Those were 3 words on the board. So she says as her clue, spy, which is illegal because you can't say a word on the board as a clue. But she said it anyway. No, was it spy?
So can you...
No, so bond was on the board, sorry, and she said bond. That was her clue. So I'm supposed to get from that, and again, illegal because bond is on the board. So I'm supposed to get from her clue bond, I'm supposed to get bond and octopus because he's in the movie Octopussy. So she says Bond 2. I'm supposed to get Bond and Octopussy, which I guess, by the way, but only because I know her so well. Spy is not only not our team's word, spy is the fucking assassin word. Like, if I guessed spy, we would have just instantly lost. Anyway, but, you know, and much to the amusement of our opponents, my brother and his girlfriend. So, you know, it's a really fun, silly game. And like I said, so there is a picture version where instead of words on the board, you have pictures. And I've found that one version is not better than the other, but it's really, I don't want to say divisive because there's no conflict, but some people are really good at one version and some people are much better at the other version. And I think it just sort of depends on how your brain's wired. So you can sort of discover something about yourself by playing both. And what you can do is if you get them both, you can actually mix them up. So you can have half of the board as words and half of the board as pictures, which is silly nonsense.
Your best
and
kind
the
of
pictures
nonsense.
are all very sort of like the best kind of nonsense, exactly. And the pictures are all very abstract. You know, they're very strange things. You know, it's like Salvador Dali's clocks and an octopus smoking a pipe. You know.
Your clue is Escher.
And then there's another version of the game which is Codenames Undercover, which is adult words. So words that you know are just they're sort of sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. It's got some naughtiness to it. It's so much better than Cards Against Humanity. So if you're into that kind of like sort of raciness, and you're bored of Cards Against Humanity, because who isn't? Then Codenames Undercover.
Boring.
It is boring.
Depends on the group you're with.
These are all
No,
facts.
it's really boring.
No. Ollie quite likes it actually. It's true.
Really?
I quite like
No,
it because the guys I play with, we always
I'm gonna
seem to
sit
get
here and be
stupid.
judgy.
We always seem to get stupid combos that work really, really well against one of the people there.
Oh no, because I find that if you played it once, the novelty value is hilarious. I'll admit that. But for me personally, you can run the risk of just having like 10 cards in your hand,
yeah, you'll
and
have
none of
stuff
them
where
fit the
it just doesn't
question,
fit.
and it's just
Yeah,
you're
you'll
picking
have that,
the best of a boring bunch, and it just
So-
seems to go on, and it's just like
I agree.
bored.
And also, like,
See-
if you see one where you're like, I've got nothing that's funny for this, I might as well put in something that's really shit so I can get that out of my hand.
Yeah.
So if you try to play strategically at all, then it actually serves to ruin the game even more. And actually, the same criticism I applied to Trivial Pursuit, not ironically, but humorously, applies to Cards Against Humanity as well. It's like, if you can't do the thing that you're supposed to do, it's just boring and bad.
yeah.
See, I think a lot of it is who you're playing with and what you remember. So I know when I've played the game, I've done some really bad combos, some proper duds. I've done some that I thought would get a much bigger laugh than they actually did. But I remember the ones that made me fall out of my chair laughing. I remember the ones that I lost breath because I'm laughing so much I can't breathe in. And that's sort of what stuck in my head.
But if you, I think that's from when you're playing the game for the first time and you don't know what's going to come out. Whereas when you play it again, you're sort of like, oh yeah, I remember
And then
that.
you can get like a million expansions for it, but then the card decks are unwieldy, and you've got to shuffle that shit and carry it around. I was trying not to swear there. I don't know why. But I swore.
I'm keeping count. He's on 3 now.
Anyway, the point is, Codenames Undercover has that same sort of raciness, but is actually also a really fun game, and a lot of the rudeness can come from the Spy Master, because they've got to give you clues to lead you to words like anal and dildo. And like you can learn a lot about your friends playing that game, you know? And also the game itself is solid and fun. So that's really amusing. So you should...
solid and fun. Oh, sorry, I went somewhere else with that.
I heard it too, don't worry.
It was maybe not entirely an accident. Anyway, so that's Codenames, and that's a great fun sort of family buy, and it comes with 3 different versions that sort of fit any group. Maybe don't get the Undercover one for Christmas time.
Unless
you're
funny.
Yeah, unless you really, you know... Because the thing is... Well, I'll tell you what. The one thing about Cards Against Humanity, that the only complimentary thing I'm going to say is that when you do go into that, everyone kind of... You know, you get like almost a pass because it's all so awful. If you make a really awful joke, people will be like, yeah, well, that's Cards Against Humanity. But in Codenames, there's a bit more of a gray zone where if you give like out a really weird clue, you know... or it's like if you're playing with someone you're intimate with, like at Christmas time you're playing with your girlfriend on your team, you can give her like a clue, or him
really
a clue,
might release
or whatever.
Too much information.
Yeah, exactly. Like it might be something really personal to you guys that she'll get instantly, but that then kind of makes the people around the table go,
we'll have follow-up questions after this game.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, you know, might be really amusing and funny, but maybe not, depending on who you're playing with. But anyway, so Codenames is another great one. And the last one I just wanted to mention was Isle of Skye, which we've played on the channel already. We're actually going to play... So I noticed somehow that... so this is... one of the designers of this is Alexander Pfister. We've actually got 2 more of his games that we're going to be running through as part of this Christmas special. But Isle of Skye is a fun tile-laying, sort of auctioning game. It's 2 to 5 players. It's sort of quick to pick up. Again, you're doing the same thing every round, so it's pretty easy to grab it. There's sort of rotating objectives. I'd say that's probably the most complicated thing to get your head around.
Yeah.
Every turn, you've got these, or every game, you've got these 5 randomized objectives, and then you get points for 3 of them at the end of every round. So you're not always getting points for all of the objectives, and so you've sort of got to pay attention to what's being scored every round.
Yeah.
But honestly, like once you've done a couple rounds, you'll sort
of a lot of fun.
You'll have it. Yeah, it's so easy. You'll have it grasped, and then. By the end of the first game, you'll know it very intimately, and you'll be able to play again. So it's just it's got some negotiation, it's got some difficult decisions, and then it's got some fun tile laying. So you're building a thing, which is always fun. I love that. So
Mike likes building things.
I like building things and sort of making patterns and sort of trying to figure out the best way to put stuff down.
It. I think it's fun because no two game is the same then.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always a variety.
And, because the objectives are changing up as well every time. So you know you get a lot of sort of different stuff going on. So that's sort of I guess that's our Christmas recommendations if you're going home and you want to pick up sort of something a bit bigger and a bit more complex, or you know if you've seen people recommending like Ticket to Ride or Dominion and you're like what's that about, that's just a quick sort of rundown of them for you. So that's pretty good. I hope you've enjoyed that. You'll notice we've got one more stack here. These are games that we're actually that have come out this year, or not this year but a long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
That you might not have heard of or might not have seen. But these are games we think that you could bring home to play for Christmas, maybe. But we're going to play through them so that you can get an idea of how they play and what they're like and whether you want to take them home. But these are sort of, I would say these are much more sort of... Well, we don't need to play Isle of Skye because we already played it on the channel, so you can go have a look at it. Michael and I blundering our way through that. That was quite an early series. So,
I think I won.
I think you did win. But production, maybe the production on that's not quite as good as our current videos, if you think these are good at all.
No.
Be warned, that's not quite as good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in it.
I didn't mean it like that. No, the camera setup's a bit janky, and actually, the problem is in Isle of Skye, we're all building these islands, but actually, you can only kind of half see mine.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, and that's really annoying to watch. Having said that,
you were all about the lake. You were getting so excited about the lake.
People love the first episode though because they think you're brilliant in it.
And then they saw episode 2.
And then like...
and then they switched off. But but if you want to get a sort of an idea of how that plays, you can definitely go check that out. Dominion and Catan and Codenames and Ticket to Ride and stuff lots and lots of people.
Giving me some
very
ideas
familiar with
anyway.
that. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, here we go.
Thank you.
So let's get these. Ooh, Christmas tree.
Santa is just unhappy with you today.
Let's get this. Oh no, the bells. The bells.
You've actually just tried to destroy the tree a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't try. Yeah.
I've succeeded.
I was going to say,
Oh.
they're in front of you.
I don't know.
Taking bells off of places to put them on elsewhere.
Okay.
There we go.
So we've got these games here. We've got 2 Alexander Pfister games, Port Royal and Oh My Goods. Oh My Goods is a classic. This has just been reprinted. It's £8 to buy. So
Which is nothing.
which is next to nothing, and it's actually a really sort of fun, deep strategy game with a lot of interesting choices going on. It's fairly quick to play, and it's 2 to 4 players. So we'll run through that. We'll show you how it works. I think this is to pick up if you've got a couple of people at home that can sort of get who can get into a game, get a bit more strategy out of it, but it's small enough that you can just pick it up and easily carry it around with you.
It's a travel game, definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a game that can travel, but you need some table space to set it up. So maybe not for on the airplane or in the car, but for taking home for Christmas or taking away on holiday with you or something like that. What's Port Royal?
Port Royal is very similar in the fact that you're trying to gain money, and then with those coins that because you're a pirate. So
Is it just me, or is this coin the spitting image of the coin from
Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, that is exactly the Pirates of the Caribbean coin, isn't it?
Oh. I think isn't Port Royal in Jamaica?
Yeah, it's...
I did a geography degree.
Barbados.
I should know this. Like
You
Ollie.
really should.
Like Ollie knows his history.
Oh my god, did you do a geography degree? And
Yeah.
you're like, okay. Well,
It's in the Caribbean.
I
so
would say it's in the Caribbean. Yes.
quick summary.
Very quickly, you're a pirate. You're trying to earn coins, and with those coins, you're buying people that do a particular trade, and they can help you. They particularly have victory points associated with them. So, and they can help you earn more victory points or earn more coins, and it's the first to 12 victory points that wins the game.
Oh, there's a cap on the victory points. So it's not one of those games where Mike can get like 600 against my 30.
No, it's the first to 12.
Ah,
Okay,
be
so
fun.
it says here that it's for 2 to 5 players and that it takes 20 to 50 minutes. Ergo, using math, I've worked out that it takes about 10 minutes per player.
Yes.
It'll probably take
Mine's a lot
us.
more succinct
take
at
us
explaining
longer.
things than
It
I
might
am.
take us longer, but we'll run through it anyway, so you guys can have a quick look at it and how it works. But this is quite a new one. That's an older one. In the middle, he made Isle of Skye with Andrew Pelican. So we'll see how these Alexander Pfister games hold up with just cards. Next, we've got Super Rhino. What's that?
It's basically a card tower building game.
So it's a dexterity game.
Yes.
Oh no.
Think Jenga, but building a deck of cards.
This table isn't attached to the legs. We'll have a problem.
We'll be fine.
Basically, you're trying to build this tower,
Oh,
and
there it
each
is.
of the cards has
It's
a
upside down,
particular
but there it is.
action that you've got to do with it, and on some of them, it has a picture of a rhino. So you've got to put the rhino on that floor. And sometimes he's hiding in a corner.
gotta save the
Sometimes he's like having. I want to say he's having a bath. I generally don't know if he is or not, but but you've got to stick him on that floor. And so it's not only just building the floors on that level, but then the extra dexterity of then trying to get the rhino. If you've got the rhino on, say, the second floor, and then you pull up another card that's on the fifth floor, you've got to then move the rhino from the second floor to the fifth floor.
Oh dear.
Awesome. Sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Okay, next we've got Not Alone. And as you notice, these are all sort of travel-sized games, and that was part of the agenda here. Dream Home isn't, and I'll get to an explanation of Dream Home in just a minute, because first we've got Not Alone. Not Alone is a game, and this is actually a great game, I think, for the family at Christmas time, because it's all about love. You see, one of you plays as an alien, the rest of you are astronauts who've crashed on the alien's planet, and the alien loves you so much he just wants to assimilate you into the alien organism.
Too much loving.
Not too much loving.
Everything you've just described has just made me think of the movie Alien. But it's just like it's told
like
from a slightly different perspective. where
It's
the
like
alien loves you
Alien
so
crossed
much.
with Love Actually.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Too much love.
That's terrifying.
So one of
Too
you
much
is an alien, and it's actually a good way to describe this game is sort of like hide and seek the game, because what you've got is you've got this planet. There's 10 locations on the planet. The astronauts can hide in 5 of the locations and sort of unlock later locations to hide in as well. Every round they're selecting a location to hide in, and every round the alien is searching a location to look for them.
Sounds a lot more sinister. It's like, it's a game about love. We're hiding from the alien as much as we can.
We're hiding from the people that love us.
it's perfectly
Very sinister.
No, come on now. You just need to let
far
go,
too
accept the love, or it will be forced on you.
He's got a brain slug on his back.
It's kind of, it actually reminds me a lot of family events and stuff like that, because it's like...
hiding from loved ones?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
Merry Christmas!
I didn't choose all these people. Some of them are just there. But the good thing about Not Alone is it scales from... So the alien, you've both got hands of cards that sort of give you special little extra things you can do, but ultimately there's a tracker. The tracker goes on... every turn, the tracker moves on. So the astronauts need to get the tracker to the end, while every time the alien catches an astronaut, the alien tracker moves on, and it's the first one to sort of get to the midpoint that wins. You've got hand of cards you can use for special abilities, but the great thing about the game is it's 2 to 7 players, and it's over very quickly. I mean, it says here that it takes 30 to 45 minutes. That's probably if you've got 7 people.
Yeah.
Like 2 players can get through this in like 10 minutes. So it's sort of a great little game for drop in and drop out, and it scales up to big numbers of people as well if you want to get a big game going on with the family. And it's, again, very, very quick and easy to learn. So we'll run through Not Alone. Not Alone.
Not Alone, yes.
And the final one we've got for you today is Dream Home, which I sort of acquired because it's sort of a game that's apparently really good for children to play, very accessible. It says 7-Up here on the box.
I think he's saying something about our skill at game.
But that it's actually got enough complexity for adults to enjoy. So I played it through once with Barry Smith, who's, you'll know, internet famous Barry Smith from FaceCheck, who deigns to come on my channel from time to time. And honestly, it's a game. I thought it'd be funny as well to be like building our dream home and stuff, but...
Anyway, I'll get one in London.
Yeah, exactly.
Your dream home in London.
But honestly, it's all about getting points, and you get points for putting rooms in certain configurations. So you don't really build your dream home at all. You just kind of optimize room placement. So it's a really odd game.
Oh.
It's totally bizarre, and I'm not really sure who the audience is, because I feel like the kids who play it will want to have more fun with it than it will allow them to, and the adults who play it will be like, well, that was a game. But we'll run through it anyway because it's silly, and maybe we'll get to do something fun with the rooms, and maybe you guys will unlock something in it that Barry and I didn't see when we ran through it.
I don't know.
Because to be fair, we did it at the end of the night. We were really sleepy, and we just thought we'd check it out.
I'm just a little bit terrified that someone's taken the time to trim the trees into perfect.
Hey, if you got your dream home, you've got to have perfect.
Listen,
I was going to say something
your
else.
dream home.
No, it's just reminding me of the bit.
You got to have perfectly cultured bushes.
I was going to say trimmed bushes.
Yeah.
It's just reminding me of the bit from the movie Edward Scissorhands when he goes to that.
Oh, with the dinosaurs.
Perfect little bit of Americana suburbia.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that sort of very suspicious suburb.
I mean, and the other thing actually about Dream Home is that the components are really, really nice. The inlay is really, really nice. The whole thing is really well produced.
It looks smart.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks appealing. It looks fun. So maybe that will get people into it, and then you actually get to play a game. I'm just not quite sure where it fits. It feels like a really sort of odd combination of elements.
Okay.
So we'll have a go at it. We'll see what you guys think,
okay.
And then I will put it on my shelf where it can gather dust forever, or maybe not, if we have a really good time. Okay. I feel like it's the kind of game that we could have fun with by getting drunk and mocking it. I don't know, though. So we'll have to find out.
To the pub.
To the pub. But I think what we'll probably do is play Oh My Goods first, because actually, somewhat funnily, the smallest box on the table is the most complex of the games we have to play today. Isn't that weird? So... we'll be right back with Oh My Goods.
In a bit.